There's a biological reason why your self-control collapses after resisting temptation all day, and it has nothing to do with weak character or lack of discipline. You're operating under a fundamental misunderstanding. Self-control is not personality trait. It's depletable resource. Every resistance to temptation, every disciplined choice, every moment of restraint consumes from same limited willpower pool. By evening, pool is depleted, making resistance nearly impossible, regardless of morning discipline strength. This is why you maintain perfect diet all day, then demolish entire bag of chips at night. Why you work with focus all morning, then scroll mindlessly all evening. Why you're a disciplined person until you're not. You're not weak, you're depleted. Japanese culture developed something Western approaches miss entirely: self-control through eliminated temptation rather than increased resistance. Not building stronger willpower, engineering environment and cognitive patterns, making temptation irrelevant. In next 30 minutes, I'm showing you 7 specific Japanese habits that make self-control 10 times easier. Not through superhuman discipline, but through systematic architecture eliminating willpower requirement. These practices, based on principles like hara, hachi, bu, wabi-sabi, kaizen and enso, create automatic self-control through environmental and psychological design. Let's start with the 7 habits. Habit 1. Hara Hachi Bu practice. First habit, stop eating at 80% fullness rather than complete satiation. Deliberate restraint before fullness signal arrives, creating practiced voluntary cessation. Hara Hachi Bu is Okinawan practice, meaning eat until 80% full. Confucian teaching advising people leave dining table before completely satisfied. Okinawa has world's highest concentration of centenarians, with this practice cited as key longevity factor alongside other dietary patterns. This isn't primarily about caloric restriction, though benefits exist. This is systematic self-control training. Every meal becomes practice session for voluntary cessation before biological satiation signal arrives. You're training stopping before satisfaction. Exact skill required for all self-control applications. Most self-control failures occur because people wait until craving overwhelms resistance. Hara Hachi Bu teaches stopping before overwhelming urge arrives. Applied to eating, stop before fullness. Applied to entertainment, stop before exhaustion. Applied to any pleasure, stop while still enjoying, creating practice in voluntary cessation. Implementation. At every meal, estimate 80% fullness and stop eating there. This requires conscious attention. Put fork down, assess hunger levels, stop when satisfied but not full. First week feels unsatisfying. After 2 weeks, you'll notice afternoon energy improves because you're not food coma from overeating. After 30 days, stopping at 80% becomes automatic and transferable to other domains. Habit 2. Wabi-sabi acceptance. Second habit. Practice finding beauty in imperfection and incompleteness, eliminating perfectionism that triggers all or nothing thinking, destroying self-control. Wabi-sabi is Japanese aesthetic centered on acceptance of transience and imperfection. Beauty exists in natural imperfection, aging and incompleteness. Pottery with visible repair becomes more beautiful through history shown in imperfection. This is kintsugi philosophy, where breaks are filled with gold, highlighting rather than hiding damage. Applied to self-control, perfectionism is primary destroyer of sustained discipline. You commit to perfect diet, eat single forbidden food, interpret this as complete failure, abandon entire diet. All or nothing thinking makes single deviation catastrophic because it doesn't fit perfect pattern, creating total collapse. Wabi-sabi eliminates perfectionism, replacing it with acceptance of imperfect progress. Single deviation isn't failure. It's natural imperfection in ongoing practice. You don't abandon entire effort because one moment was imperfect. Imperfection is expected, accepted, integrated into continued practice. Research on abstinence violation effect proves that perceiving single deviation as complete failure predicts total relapse more than deviation itself. People who interpret slip as minor temporary deviation return to discipline quickly. People who interpret slip as proof of fundamental failure abandon all effort. Implementation. When deviation from discipline occurs, and it will, practice explicit wabi-sabi response. Say aloud, "This imperfection is natural and acceptable. When deviation doesn't eliminate accumulated progress, I continue from here." Write this response in notebook. Return to discipline immediately next opportunity without guilt spiral or abandonment thinking. After experiencing several deviations without total collapse, you'll trust imperfect consistency creates better results than perfect attempts followed by complete abandonment. Habit 3. Kaizen micro-commitments. Third habit. Make self-control commitments so small that resistance is minimal, creating consistent success, building capability gradually through accumulated micro-victories. Kaizen means continuous improvement through incremental change. Toyota manufacturing philosophy, producing dramatic results through tiny, systematic improvements. Applied to self-control, make commitments requiring almost zero willpower, enabling perfect consistency, building confidence and capability. Western approach demands dramatic transformation. I'm quitting sugar completely starting tomorrow. This requires enormous willpower, produces initial success through motivation, then inevitable failure when motivation depletes and commitment size exceeds sustainable willpower capacity. Kaizen approach makes commitment laughably small. I'm reducing sugar by 1 teaspoon daily. This requires minimal willpower, produces consistent success, builds confidence, and compounds through repetition, producing same endpoint as dramatic commitment, but through sustainable gradual path without failure trauma. The psychology is critical. Each success strengthens self-efficacy belief. Your confidence in capability executing intended behaviors. Repeated success creates robust self-efficacy, making larger commitments feel achievable. Repeated failure destroys self-efficacy, making even small commitments feel impossible. Kaizen micro-commitments engineer consistent success, producing self-efficacy growth, enabling gradually larger sustainable commitments. Implementation. Identify self-control goal, reduce sugar, increase exercise, decrease phone use, whatever target exists. Instead of dramatic transformation, commit to smallest possible improvement. So small it feels embarrassing. 1 less teaspoon sugar, 1 push-up daily, 1 minute less phone time. Execute this micro-commitment perfectly for 30 days, proving consistent capability, then increase slightly. After 6 months of perfect micro-progression, you've achieved substantial transformation through accumulated tiny improvements without single failure, destroying confidence. Habit 4. ENSO completion rituals. Fourth habit. Establish completion rituals marking conscious end to activities preventing mindless continuation past intended stopping point. ENSO is hand-drawn circle in Zen Buddhism, often deliberately left incomplete, symbolizing imperfection and ongoing nature of existence. But ENSO drawing is also ritual marking completion. Meditation session ends. Practitioner draws ENSO, signaling transition from practice to normal activity. Applied to self-control, most overconsumption occurs through mindless continuation rather than conscious decision. You intended watching 1 episode, but autoplay continues, and 4 episodes later, you realize time disappeared. You intended brief social media check, but 30 minutes passed unconsciously. No stopping point was established, making cessation require active interruption rather than natural conclusion. ENSO rituals create explicit endpoints. Before beginning potentially endless activity, establish completion ritual executed at predetermined point marking conscious end. Ritual can be simple. Standing up, closing laptop, drawing actual circle in notebook, but must be deliberately executed, not passively experienced. Research on implementation intentions shows pre-committing to specific stopping behavior dramatically increases actual cessation compared to vague intention to stop when done. Vague endpoint allows indefinite continuation because done never arrives clearly. Explicit ritual creates unmistakable endpoint triggering cessation behavior automatically. Implementation for any potentially endless activity, streaming content, social media, web browsing, snacking, establish explicit stopping ritual before beginning. Set timer for intended duration. When timer sounds, execute ritual. Stand up, close device, draw circle in notebook, speak completion phrase aloud. Ritual marks psychological endpoint, making continuation require active decision to override ritual rather than passive continuation being default. After executing ritual 50 times, stopping becomes automatic response to timer requiring no willpower because behavioral sequence is established. Habit 5. May environmental gaps. Fifth habit. Deliberately create physical and temporal gaps between impulse and satisfaction, making automatic indulgence impossible, requiring conscious decision. Ma is Japanese concept of negative space, deliberate emptiness between elements. In art, Ma is unpainted space, making painted elements meaningful. In architecture, Ma is empty space, making occupied space purposeful. In time, Ma is pause, making activity meaningful. Applied to self-control, most failures occur through automatic execution. Impulse arises. Satisfaction is immediately accessible. Consumption happens before conscious awareness intervenes. Phone in pocket makes checking automatic. Snacks in drawer make eating automatic. Credit card in wallet makes purchasing automatic. Zero gap between impulse and satisfaction means willpower has no opportunity engaging. Ma creates gaps, requiring conscious decision bridging impulse to satisfaction. Phone in different room means standing, walking, retrieving required before checking. Gap allows consciousness engaging. Snacks requiring preparation mean cooking required before eating. Gap interrupts automaticity. Credit card frozen in ice requires thawing before purchasing. Gap creates decision point. This isn't making satisfaction impossible. It's making satisfaction require conscious choice rather than automatic execution. You can still check phone, eat snack, make purchase, but you must consciously choose bridging gap rather than automatically consuming. Conscious choice activates prefrontal cortex, allowing rational evaluation. Automatic behavior bypasses. Implementation. Identify automatic indulgences occurring without conscious decision. Then engineer Ma gaps, making automatic execution impossible. Phone goes in car during work. Snacks stay at store, not in home. Credit card physically separated from wallet. Streaming device requires manual reconnection after each use. Entertainment requiring setup, not instant access. Each gap forces conscious decision, replacing automatic consumption. After 30 days of gap-enforced consciousness, consumption decreases dramatically, not through increased willpower, but through eliminated automaticity, requiring deliberate choice for every instance. Habit 6. Shoshin beginner identity. Sixth habit. Maintain beginner self-concept, preventing ego attachment to discipline identity that creates defensive justification when lapses occur. Shoshin means beginner's mind, approaching practice without claiming expertise, preventing ego defense mechanisms that impair learning. Zen concept emphasizing perpetual beginner status, mentally regardless of skill development. Applied to self-control. When you develop disciplined identity, I'm disciplined person. I don't eat sugar. I'm not phone addicted. Ego attaches to this identity. Then when deviation occurs threatening identity, psychological defense activates. Either you deny deviation maintaining identity, that wasn't real sugar, or you catastrophize deviation destroying identity. I'm not disciplined at all, this proves it. Both responses destroy self-control. Denial prevents learning from deviation. Catastrophizing triggers abstinence violation effect, causing total collapse. Shoshin prevents both by maintaining beginner identity. I'm practicing self-control, still learning. Deviation doesn't threaten beginner identity because beginners make mistakes. That's learning process. No defense necessary, no catastrophizing justified. Research on mindset shows that viewing discipline as learnable skill produces better long-term results than viewing it as fixed trait. Skill mindset interprets failure as learning opportunity requiring adjusted strategy. Trait mindset interprets failure as proof of inadequate trait requiring nothing because trait is unchangeable. Implementation. When discussing self-control, internal dialogue or external conversation, use beginner language explicitly. Not I'm disciplined person, but I'm practicing discipline. Not I don't do X, but I'm learning to reduce X. Not I'm strong-willed, but I'm developing self-control capability. This language maintains beginner identity, preventing ego attachment. When deviation occurs, respond with beginner frame. Interesting learning moment. What triggered deviation and how do I adjust approach? After maintaining Shoshin frame through multiple deviations, you'll develop robust self-control without fragile ego attachment, making deviations catastrophic. Habit 7. Nemawashi, pre-commitment. 7th habit. Establish advanced social commitment, creating external accountability, preventing private abandonment of discipline goals. Nemawashi means groundwork in Japanese, literally going around roots, referring to preparing stakeholders before formal decision creating group support. Business practice where informal consensus is built before official meeting, ensuring proposal succeeds through advanced social preparation. Applied to self-control, private commitments allow unlimited rationalization. You commit to discipline goal privately, fail privately, adjust expectations privately, abandon effort privately. Zero social consequence enabling convenient self-deception. Brain generates creative justifications, making abandonment feel reasonable rather than failure. Nemawashi creates social accountability through advanced commitment. Before beginning discipline practice, you inform specific people creating witnesses. Not casual mention, but explicit commitment. I'm doing X for Y duration, checking in weekly. Now, abandonment requires either lying about progress or admitting failure to witnesses, creating social pressure, maintaining effort even when private motivation depletes. Research on public commitment shows accountability to others produces dramatically higher goal completion rates than private commitment. Social consequences activate different motivation system than personal satisfaction. Reputation protection motivates behavior even when personal benefit feels insufficient. Critical detail. Nemawashi isn't announcing vague goals on social media, creating accountability theater. It's establishing specific check-ins with particular individuals who will explicitly ask about progress. Not I'm getting healthier posted publicly, but I'm eliminating sugar for 30 days, sending you photo of every meal to specific accountability partner. Implementation. Before starting self-control practice, establish Nemawashi accountability structure. Identify 1 to 3 specific people, not everyone you know, specific accountable individuals. Schedule exact check-in times, weekly video call, daily photo exchange, whatever creates regular explicit accountability. Communicate specific commitment, including exact success criteria and check-in schedule. During check-ins, report honestly without excuse-making. If deviation occurred, state it plainly and adjustment strategy. After 6 weeks of regular check-ins, social accountability becomes a powerful motivation source, preventing private abandonment that destroys purely personal commitments. Why systematic progression matters. 16 code, 18 grounds. These 7 self-control habits work. But knowing habits doesn't mean you'll execute them consistently. Research from University College London proves habit automation requires average 66 days, not 21 days as popular mythology claims. Dr. Philippa Lally's research showed median 66 days for complete behavioral automation through myelination, but 66 undifferentiated days produces high failure rate. You need phase-specific approach where each phase has distinct purpose, matching predictable psychological stages. That's what 66 Days of Steel, the samurai method to forge absolute discipline, provides. This isn't ebook teaching self-control theory. It's war protocol with specific daily execution requirements, eliminating all decision-making. You don't interpret, you execute exactly as written until behaviors automate. The 3-phase system, 18-hour, 21-hour. Phase 1, the fire, days 1, 22. Detoxification. First 22 days is elimination phase. Complete detoxification protocol with 2 explicit lists. The rust, what you must eliminate completely, cheap dopamine sources keeping threshold elevated. The steel, what you must do daily, specific practices building foundation. Battle journal tracking everything, creating objective accountability. This creates withdrawal, real, uncomfortable, physiological withdrawal. Your brain screams for removed stimulation. This is hardest phase, but you're heating steel to extreme temperature, making it malleable for forging. Phase 2, the hammer, days 23-44. Installation. Days 23 to 44 is where most people quit. Detoxification withdrawal has passed, but benefits haven't fully manifested. You're in middle ground, feeling bored, questioning whether effort produces results. All phase 1 rules remain. This is cumulative, not sequential. Now we add specific daily practices, building self-control capability systematically. Detailed protocols for each practice with exact execution criteria, eliminating ambiguity. This phase requires trust in process, not evidence from results. Every seemingly pointless repetition is hammer strike forging capability. Phase 3, the Polish, days 45-66. Excellence, final 22 days shifts from establishment to refinement. Excellence phase, adding refinement practices, absolute order, war aesthetics, strategy, the service, daily requirements creating complete transformation, not just self-control improvement, but total discipline architecture. By day 66, self-control isn't conscious, effortful resistance. It's automated default response through myelinated neural pathways. What you get, 21-0, 23-30. The contract of honor. You sign before beginning creating psychological commitment. Without signature, challenge doesn't start. Complete daily protocols, exact instructions for all 66 days, what to eliminate, what to do, how to track, no interpretation needed. Day 66, the rite of passage, completion ceremony, 1 hour silence. Write letter to day 1 self, read aloud, burn it, that man is dead. The scabbard, day 67 onwards. Maintenance protocol, the 2-day rule preventing relapse, keeping core practices alive without requiring same intensity as forge period. Throughout, Musashi's philosophy integrated as practical daily applications, showing how ancient warrior wisdom solves modern self-control challenges. This is systematic protocol, producing measurable transformation through structured daily execution until behaviors automate, making self-control inevitable rather than heroic achievement. The link is pinned in the comments.